territory. When we showed up in Baku, Azerbaijan's capital city, I had no idea what to expect. And then we found ourselves in this incredible modern city, full of energy, of life. I had no idea where to start looking or how to go about it. So I reached out to people who could tell me more about the country and its wildlife.
This is our first drive in Baku. George is looking a bit nervous here.
One of the first people that we met with was Elshad Askarov, head of WWF in Azerbaijan. Elshad pointed us to Hurkan National Park, where the locals had reported sporadic leopard sightings over the years.
We found leopards first here in Hurkan. Just this virgin forest, still harbors this small population. And I found Babahan here, a very brave man, and he will help you.
He is definitely the person who knows this area the best, right?
Yeah, he's the best person who knows the area. He's a Tarzan. Yeah, he can jump from a tree to another tree. So, very interesting person.
He was one of the first people, I think, to tell me about Babahan. And at this point, you know, you're hearing this name, Babahan, and I had no idea who they were talking about.
After meeting Elshad, we decided to go direct to Hurkan National Park, home of the ancient forest. There was so little to go on, but we were intrigued by Elshad's story of Babahan, who he believed would be the best guide we could have in the mountains and in finding traces of this leopard.
I really am thinking this is not going to be that easy. And there is an element of, you know, are we going to go through all this and come up with nothing?
As we were getting ready to leave, the Minister of Ecology agreed to a meeting. Gaining his support was absolutely pivotal, and I felt like something was actually starting to happen.
Areas where wildlife can sustainably live is not as big because population is growing, agriculture
like everywhere around the world.
Bigger, yes. This is now a problem. It's why we expanded protected areas from 480,000 hectares to 1 million hectares now.
Right.
So 11% of territory of country is
national park. So how are you?
And I mean, you know him already.
Hello, Emmett. Okay, so what I thought we'd do is take you through what we've organised.
Right.
So we're going down to Hurkan and we're staying in the national park in Hurkan and we're going to look for leopard.
I like your confidence.
This man, he'll find the leopard.
We now had help from the government and from WWF. We hadn't expected to find support so quickly. It really felt like the Azeri people wanted us to find this leopard. So we set out on this first expedition, full of optimism, but little did we know how hard the journey ahead of us would turn out to be. Located 600 kilometres from Baku and at the foot of the southern Caucasus, Hurkan National Park is a dense subtropical rainforest. It's one of the most important areas for conservation in Azerbaijan. We arrived at an isolated smallholding, home to just a few families, ready to meet the man who would hold the key to it all.
The first time I met Babahan, I had no idea what to expect. And all of a sudden, this little wiry man comes flying down the hill on a horse. He's literally the fittest, strongest man you'll ever meet in your entire life. And I understood straight up that this man was the only person who was going to get us anywhere near this leopard footage.
Atam elə buralı deyil, mən biraz 70-ci illərdən qayıdıb buraya yaşayıram. İndiyənəcən mən elə o təbiətdə bu cür böyümüşəm. Yəni atamla gedib əsgər edib oradan qayıdıb gəlmişəm. Yaxşı mənada yəni, sevinç. Bildirirəm ki, həqiqətən burada bir var. Çünki həmişə olub. Gözümü açıb mən görmüşəm.
Seeing the mountains for the first time really brought home the scale of the challenge and gave a sense of what lay ahead. It's really good for the leopards that this area is so remote, but getting into Hürkan was hugely difficult. As we set out, this was like nothing I'd ever experienced. A landscape that was so alien to me, and already George was struggling to keep up.
Now walking about 4 hours and a half, so I'm very tired. I don't know, maybe I'll make it or not, I don't know. I think I'll die in this place. I'm tired.
We're now sort of right up in the mountains. It's amazing where we are. You can probably hear the generator out the back. And the people here are just incredibly generous, incredibly gentle, incredibly welcoming. And we're looking for a good night's sleep and then heading out tomorrow morning. We're going to let George have a look for these tracks. I'm really excited. Yeah, we're getting pretty close now. Baba Han's giving George a cuddle. We're heading off this morning, about 6-hour hike, very steep. We're heading up into leopard country, so fingers crossed.
We were ready to go deep into leopard territory. I couldn't believe how ancient and untouched this forest was. I could sense this was going to be a difficult task.
But I believe the leopard was there. They are very shy. What they are doing, they are moving right in the top of the ridge of the mountain to try to avoid movement of the people.
We started to climb. It was beautiful, quiet, almost mythical. Baba Han was way out in front.
It's heard from Baba Han that his grandfather planted a walnut crop up here, and they fall early autumn, and we've missed them, unfortunately, because I'm starving.
Baba Han's family has lived in these mountains for generations. He comes from a line of people who are almost part of the forest.
Rahmetli anam rahmetli amsinin keçiləri itmişdi, gəldik, qarda yağmışdı. Yəni biz gəldik, gördük keçilər yoxdur, qarda bilmək olmur. Və sonra biz də o heyvanları axtarırıq, keçiləri. Gördük ki, buradan izi çıxıb o mağara qəbir getdi bəncə. Çıxdım üstünə mən, bunu bir görüm də. Görüm, bu buradan çıxardı bir buna. Gördüm ki, orada tərpəndi, içərdə. Bir səs eləyəndən sonra gördüm ki, parçası bu da çıxdı, düz mənə. Qaçdı, hoppandı. Alə hoppandı, hoppana.
Traversing through the mountains was much harder than expected. The slope was incredibly steep and the ground was wet. Everyone except Baba Han was struggling, especially George. This was very different to Africa.
A bit worried about George. He's struggling quite early on. We really do need him up the top, so I'm not entirely sure what we're going to do. If you have a look at him now, he's very much struggling. We've got about 3 or 4 hours to go.
I never been in a tough area like that before. I'm feeling like I'm very, very, very tired. But my heart, it was need to go, but the body drives me, no. This area is not for me.
George, it's only going to get harder from here. 12 kilometres in, I had to send George home.
He just couldn't keep up. In different circumstances, George is one of the best leopard trackers in the world. But this was just too difficult.
I was very sad because it was not my aim to fail. It's not something which I'm used to. Everything what I'm doing to be successful.
It was at this point that I knew this was going to be much harder than I'd anticipated. I had underestimated how tricky this could be. We pushed forward without George. Babahan was the only way we were going to find this leopard. Babahan's just found a print of a leopard. It's about a week old. This leopard's been coming down the hill. It's been laying on its back. Obviously quite relaxed. There's marks all through here and it's just before the rain, so about a week ago. So we've lost George. We're down a camera now, but we've found leopard tracks. It's a good sign. We knew that we were getting close, but stronger evidence was needed, something tangible. We had to believe we could find this leopard, that we were heading in the right direction. We had walked for miles and we'd lost George, but finally there was hope on the ground in front of us.
They're fresh.
It's yesterday's, because it is after rain.
That's the biggest leopard track I've ever seen in my entire life.
It's very big.
Huge track.
Yes, it's very big.
It's a big animal, huh?
Maybe more than 100 kilograms. Very big.
So just to get an idea, the biggest leopard I've seen is probably about 95 kilos in Africa. It's a huge, huge male. Huge male. Male over 100 kilos. I can't even imagine what that looks like.
I remember Babahan finding that leopard track. That was just what I needed at that time to keep us moving forward, to lift our spirits. And watching Babahan react to my enthusiasm, it reinforces the strength of the human spirit.
Bu arazilerde Babil mənim üçün təbiətin ən gözəl bir heyvanıdır. Allah təbarəkələ onu yaradıb, bu arazinin, bizim bu Azerbaycan dağlarının və bizim bu Talış dağlarının.
I knew it was here. I could sense its presence. We had to continue, but the mountain was getting more and more difficult to navigate. Time was running out. It was becoming clear that Babahan's life was inseparable from the leopard and the mountain. His knowledge was ancient and it worked. Babahan led us to a large cave, perfect for leopard.
This is his front footprint. He was walking from this side, and Babahan is walking in the direction it sneaked out.
We found signs of leopard activity literally everywhere.
Excrement.
That's excrement.
Excrement, Leopard.
Wild boar, young wild boar.
And that's where I set the first camera trap. Camera traps are a vital tool for conservation, and it was going to be our only chance of capturing any footage of this creature. Somewhere out there, there's a big male leopard. To see that animal, to photograph it, would be a real highlight for me.
You gonna jump down the tree?
So the mist has come in, which means that visibility isn't great. Capturing one of these leopards, it's the shot of a lifetime. But I don't think it's going to happen today. Just can't see anything. Can't even see the camera.
Coming back, we were much better organised. We had access to a helicopter and the support of the military. This would let us spend time in the forest to set up a strategic network of camera traps. This was the first time I was going to meet Victor. Babahan was waiting when we landed. In spite of the language barrier, he was starting to become a really close friend. We had a valuable new ally in Victor Lukarevsky, a big cat specialist from Russia who agreed to help us whilst also collecting data for his own research. Victor Lukarevsky works in the far east of Russia with Amur leopards and Siberian tigers. He's the absolute definitive expert in his field, and he was just such a huge boost to our team.
All my life I was connected with conservation. And of course, I am very interested in the research and to get the data, and sometimes it's need to prove the data.
I'd imagine it's... What? And depends whether the leopard likes the beetles.
The next thing we needed to do was strategise as a group and work out the best locations to set these camera traps.
Caucasian leopard, it is the biggest leopard in the world. It is very difficult to find the animals. They are not so high density like in national park in Africa or in India.
We have no idea about this leopard's range. We have no idea about its movements. So what we're trying to do is deduce how we think this leopard would behave. From there, we will have vital intel on how this leopard is moving, how this leopard is hunting.
We felt we were getting closer. All the signs were looking very promising.
So this is obviously where the leopards will come out, either relax in the sun or they're protected from the weather. And what Babahan's looking for now are these scrapings, where a leopard will scrape after it's marked its territory. So we've got leopard scat just here.
It is,
You can see all this thick hair.
the prey was wild boar.
So what Victor will do now is Victor will mark the GPS where we found this scat and found this area, collecting data all the time, which is what Victor does. Don't you, Victor?
What?
You like collecting data, don't you? Men like having a beer. Victor likes to collect data.
We hoped what happened next was going to be a game changer. We had GSM-enabled camera traps flowing in from London.
So our camera traps just arrived. These are the ones with the GSM. So what they do, they send a signal straight back to any mobile unit. We can send it through MMS, SMS, or email. So what it actually does is send a thumbnail of what was just photographed. Obviously it makes it far more efficient, being able to see the images on your phone than have to go out and trek and check those images every 6 weeks.
The hope soon turned to frustration. The GSM in the camera traps just wasn't working. This was a major blow.
There's a whole lot of people out there at the moment with a bad batch of cameras that just aren't working, and we've got 10 of them.
Today's been one of the most frustrating days of my entire life. We received those 10 GSM-enabled cameras, really excited this morning, and we have spent 15 hours trying to activate these GSM cameras. Gone through stages of complete desperation and despair. Then we play a bit of cards. In fact, I've got a hand in my pocket as we speak. Unfortunately, I can't show you what's in my hand because I'm playing with the cameraman. The location meant that the GSM technology was out of range. We had to make a decision. We decided to install the cameras without using the GSM technology. We started plotting where we could set the cameras to give us the best chance of finding leopard, whilst also mapping out the animals' movements. And we're going to start putting the cameras around this vicinity. Each one of these squares, the line here is 1 kilometre. There must be 30 kilometres to walk.
That we should shoot a little bit, move this way, yeah. Okay. I hope if we will put enough photo camera trap, we will get some information which is not accessible now. And we will say what we should do for the next few years. Сейчас попробуем еще раз.
It's fairly obvious that these game trails are being used for the wild boar, and what we're hoping is this male leopard patrols through here, and we've been in front of our camera traps using leopard scat that we've brought in from Baku Zoo. And just underneath the topsoil, we've been laying these pieces of leopard scat, and this is to encourage any male leopard in the area to come through and mark over that leopard scat.
It had nothing.
Oh, sorry.
This area is uninhabited. It's just that the natural breeding areas for the Caucasian leopard over the last 50, 60 years has been over in Iran. An ideal situation would be if female leopards had a home range in Hurricane National Park this side. So, and there's nothing to say that they shouldn't. It was time to leave. We left camera traps in hope that they would tell us more about the leopard activity. More and more we were realising if we could tell this leopard story, we could create change.
It begins with a spark. Heart beats faster. Blood rushes. Muscles contract. Now it's time. Time to fight. The first rule of Fight Club is there are no rules. The new season of Animal Fight Club, Wednesdays at 6 on Nat Geo Wild. Every living thing on Earth has a different idea of home. From the most brutal to the most tranquil, and everything in between. All new, all wondrous, and all right here on Destination Wild. Embrace the untamed. Sundays at 6 on Nat Geo Wild.
When we came back in winter, things were completely different. The country had been transformed by the change in seasons. The plan was to fly in by helicopter again, set up camp in the forest and check the camera traps for evidence of leopard. The weather was so bad we would have to drive in and then trek to location. it was going to be an incredibly difficult journey given the weather conditions.
It's quite a bumpy ride. The driving's quite erratic out here. Everyone's very supportive, very happy. They want us to find this leopard. So it's all good in the hood here.
We had the support, but nothing could change the realities of the terrain.
We're going to go up the mountain. It's about a 6-hour trek to Baba Han's mother's house.
If we thought it was hard before, this was going to be the toughest trip yet.
It's hard now.
See up there? That's where we're going.
In winter, Hurkan was a different world. Barren landscapes and snow-capped peaks. And so we set off into the snowy mountains.
You can see a leopard track here. That's a male leopard just here, but it's before the snow, so this snow's been on it. So it's heading this way and then straight across. These cats have such huge ranges here. This cat could now be 10, 15 kilometres away from here. So that's our challenge.
Baba Han was much faster up the mountain than anyone else. So he went out early to retrieve the camera traps that we had set with Victor. Because they were so spread out, he was never going to reach all of them. But at that point for us, anything would help. My wait for Baba Han was an anxious one.
Just got word from Baba Han that he's up the mountain, probably about 6 hours away for us. And he's retrieving the camera traps now to bring them back to us. And there's loads of fresh traps of leopard, which is amazing news. Be very interested to see what Baba Han's got to say, and very interested to see what's on this camera trap.
Should we check the camera traps?
I want to grab these camera traps and check them and see how they go.
Both run out of batteries.
I think snow's gone on this. You just set it off, it's all black. It's not looking good, eh? Okay. These are both covered with snow.
Her ikisi garla örtülmüştü.
Everything up until that point had gone wrong. We hadn't been able to set up camp, and the 2 camera traps that Baba Han had collected had shown nothing.
To come back with a camera trap, to check the trap, to find nothing on it, towards the end of that period was extraordinarily disheartening. Because you think, what are we doing here?
But we had to keep going. There was no other option.
We're heading towards the camera trap that I set last year. And it's going to be a long day, I think.
The team was exhausted, but we kept moving up the mountain, hoping for something, anything.
We've gone 3.5 k's this morning, up slopes like this, covered in snow. And it's not easy going. Baba Han's carrying my cameras for me. I don't think I would have made it without that. It's very obvious to me why nobody's photographed or documented this leopard properly before, because it is in a location that is so remote, so difficult to get to. Okay, so 7.75 k's, climbed a kilometre up through snow, and we're back to where we were last October. So if you have a look around here, we're sort of right at the top. Right over there is a run, and this is very much Caucasian leopard territory. When we got here, the camera was here and had been pushed to the side. Babahan seems to think a leopard's done that, and if a leopard's done that, he's a very heavy man.
This was our last camera trap. It was our last hope. If it had nothing, had this all been in vain? Tensions were high, energy was low.
What's frustrating? That leopard's been in that cave, right? This thing got knocked, but I don't know how it got knocked. Oh, we got leopard! We've got leopard. Hey!
Babahan and his family shared our joy.
We got leopard. No way. Mate, it's massive. Check how big. It's massive. It's a massive leopard.
Şükür Allah'ım ben Babil'in orada olması, gezmesine çok şükür ettim, bildim ki necə də olsa ama lentə alınmışlar ama bir şey fikirləşdim ki bu fotokameranı aşırdı. Dedim bəlkə düşməyibsə çox narahat hissi keçirdim. Amma şükür Allah'a ki düşmüşdü və çox şad olduq.
Very good, huh? Yep.
With big smiles but a heavy heart, it was time to leave my friend again.
It's a video clip of a leopard. That's all that was. But what it was for us was proof of life. We were doing something right here. We had found something here, and that it was worth persevering with.
I already had the support of the government, who were doing everything they could to help us. We took our footage and the story of our journey out of Azerbaijan to the Zoological Society of London and to the IUCN. Both parties decided to visit Azerbaijan for a series of stakeholder meetings.
This wasn't just our adventure. There was an opportunity here to create change, to shift the paradigm, and to really play a part in this animal's survival. So we're on our way now to IDEA, which is a body that's been set up to focus on conservation. I'm really interested to see it for the first time.
At this point, we were introduced to IDEA, founded by Leyla Aliyeva, the president's daughter. We hoped she could help shine a light on the Caucasian leopard and its future.
IDEA, our campaign, International Dialogue for Environmental Action, it's one of the biggest environmental campaigns in the region, in the Caucasus. It's an amazing animal, it's a beautiful animal. That we have it in this region is one of the biggest treasures. Through IDEA, we can do something to protect this leopard, get all the other countries involved, and then everyone will join international organizations. But the main thing is to save the species, yeah.
Following our meeting, IDEA began organising a big cat conference. They invited leading cat experts from all over the world in an attempt to muster support for the Caucasian leopard. With IDEA putting together a conference, I needed to get more footage. This would mean going back to Hürkan for the last time. We headed back to the Talish Mountains with one mission. We had to retrieve all the remaining camera traps we'd set with Victor. I just hoped there was something else on them. I was reunited with my little friend who was waiting for me at the top of the mountain.
Feeling actually quite nervous, to be honest with you. I really hope there's something on those traps.
Any new footage would be able to tell us more about the leopard's movements. This data could be used by ZSL and other researchers in order to work out how to best protect the leopard. So we set about hiking again in order to retrieve the traps.
Obviously trying to keep up with Babahan. And I don't ask him to jump up trees and climb things. He just does it. And if he does it, we try and get a camera on it as quickly as possible because that's a 51-year-old man. This forest is like nothing I've ever experienced. To think that there's a leopard roaming through here is a very special thought, I guess. Everywhere I look, I think maybe a leopard's going to pop out. I know it's ridiculous, and I know I've had low moments, but if you don't think like that, I guess you don't come back. If we can bring back the Caucasian leopard to Azerbaijan, it would just be such a huge success story for the team, for the people of Azerbaijan, for Babahan, for Victor. It's small groups of people who are this thin line between these animals' survival and their absolute extinction.
After collecting all the memory cards, Babahan and I sat down to look through the footage. A number of camera traps had captured leopard footage. But what was on the camera from the cave, it was beyond anything we'd expected.
Can you see this? To see this leopard moving through that cave, to see all our hard work pay off, to see the still images come through, the video footage come through, we got clip after clip of this animal.
But there was more.
Kink. You see the kink in its tail?
There was footage of two individual male leopards.
But let's check.
One huge male with a broken tail, making it easy to identify as a second animal.
We've got two leopards. Two. See? Tail? Up like that. And then this. Look. Tail. Broken. Two. It's beyond exciting. That is very cool. You got to remember, this is one of the rarest big cats on our planet. And we've just got proof of life of two male animals. They look in great shape. If there's two male animals, and this is the border of their territory, common sense tells you that there could be females in the area. Incredible news. I mean, to take this back to the ministry, to take this back to the foundation, back to Baku, it's more than we could have hoped for. Everything we'd done, every kilometre we had traversed, every time we'd fallen over, every time we thought this wasn't going to work, all of a sudden everything was paying off.
And so I left Babahan, this man who had helped us achieve what we so often thought was impossible. I was now armed with new footage for the Big Cat Summit in Baku. It was the first conservation summit ever organised in Azerbaijan, attended by experts from all over the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, first of all, I'd like to welcome you all in Azerbaijan.
All cat species have been assessed by the Red List. It should be noted that the Caucasian leopard is judged to be critically endangered. It's very important for this part of the world to look at the future of the leopards in a regional sense. So it has to be a cross-border communication, collaboration, because cats don't know about our borders.
What we're trying to do now is really raise the conservation awareness regarding leopards to put them back on the conservation map and make sure that they get the resources they need to conserve them.
Thank you very much for having me here. Leila, I appreciate the opportunity.
If we're doing work in conservation and it doesn't get out to the rest of the world, it's counterproductive to what we're trying to do. Getting people to see the leopard differently, to value it differently, to treat the habitat differently, to allow more prey to exist for that leopard.
99% of children will never see an endangered animal in the wild. How do you tell a child to value something they will never lay eyes on? Somewhere, through photography and filmmaking, we can fill that gap.
I'm confident that it will move forward. Before, I knew that we need to act, but after yesterday, I think there's no way that it will not happen. I think it will happen, and the leopard will be saved. We can't let it be lost like the Caspian tiger.
Over the last 2.5 years, I've come to know this area very well. Babahan's lived here for 40 years in these mountains and has seen 3 leopard, one of which attacked him.
This journey to try and capture footage of the Caucasian leopard has taught me so much. We faced enormous challenges and we came out the other side with an extraordinary story. And I think the photographs and the video has shown me that stories can facilitate change. It is really the first steps here to conserving Europe's last leopard.
They're some of the most beautiful, most powerful, most incredible animals on the planet, and Nat Geo Wild is dedicated to protecting them.
The forest is disappearing. That's a sad story.